Good afternoon, and thank you for joining me for Paragon Connect Mobile and more. My name is Wendy Hutkins, and I'm the training specialist here at Prime MLS. All of our webinars are conducted in a listen-only mode. That means everyone is muted, but we still encourage your questions. So go ahead and find that chat box in your Zoom menu options, open up your chat, and at any point over the next 2 hours, if you have a question, just type that question in the chat box. I'm the only one that's going to see those questions, so I always read those out loud when applicable, so everybody can benefit from the questions and answers being asked in the chat. Now, all of our Prime MLS webinars are available for all of our Prime MLS customers to attend. And if you're a New Hampshire or Vermont licensee, you can also potentially earn 2 CEs for your license renewal in both of those states. The other states are not currently offering this CE approval of CE credit because our Zoom format does not meet their requirements. So if you're a New Hampshire or Vermont licensee and you want to earn that 2 CE credit, make sure that first you're logged in to your own device. And second, make sure you don't miss more than 10 minutes of this 60-minute webinar. If you satisfy both of those requirements, that's how you earn the affidavit. We're going to be emailing those affidavits out today and into tomorrow if necessary. So we'll get those out to you as soon as possible. We just have a quick slide to kind of introduce our topic this afternoon, and it is all about Paragon Connect. What makes Paragon Connect special is it is the newest user interface of the Paragon MLS database. Paragon Connect is being built to be used on any device, and that means you can even download an app on your phone to make accessing Paragon Connect even easier for you. It can also be used on notebooks, tablets, and of course, PCs, laptops, and Macs. For the most of the webinar today, I'll be on my laptop, but at the very end, I'm going to jump on my phone and show you how Paragon Connect works off the app. It's going to look exactly the same as you're used to seeing it on a larger device. You're just going to have to scroll a little more to see all those options. In addition to being able to use Paragon Connect on any device, you can also use Paragon Connect on any browser. So with that, let's go ahead and jump out of our slide deck. We always like to start the webinar here on your Prime MLS dashboard. And this is where you have access into the Paragon MLS database. Notice you do have 2 access points. You have access into Paragon MLS software. That is going to be the older view of the Paragon MLS database. It was built years and years ago, and when it was built, it was designed to be specifically used on larger screens like laptops and PCs, and specifically to be used with Chrome as your browser choice. Luckily, now we have Paragon Connect, giving you that freedom of using it on any device and any browser of your choice. Plus, it just looks way more modern and it's more intuitive than that older view of the Paragon MLS database, which we call Paragon Professional. So that's what we're going to be talking about this morning to get you comfortable with Paragon Connect. You also have the ability to get some help if you need assistance when you are going into Paragon Connect. One of the best places to find that additional assistance is going to be your Prime MLS help desk. And you have access to your help desk here on your dashboard, right behind that bright yellow Access Help Desk button. When you click on that Access Help Desk button, it's going to bring you right into your Prime MLS Help Desk. This is where you're going to be able to get bite-sized pieces of information when you're using Paragon Connect behind the Paragon Connect tile. When you open that up, you're going to see all your different options. And if you click on something, we try to have a video wherever we can. And then if you scroll down, you're going to see instructions and screenshots on how to do that specific thing in Paragon Connect. You also have a second way to review the information we're going to cover today, and that would be behind recorded webinars. So when I go back to my Prime MLS Help Desk homepage, I can scroll down, I can go into recorded webinars, and under Paragon recorded webinars, I'm going to find a whole list of options. And right at the top is a previously recorded session of Paragon Connect, Mobile, and more. The nice thing about having this full webinar here on your help desk is that you can come back and review this information at your own pace. We are going to cover a lot of topics and a lot of information in these 2 very short hours. So we go rather quickly through the information, but you can always come back to your Prime MLS help desk, come into recorded webinars, and you can watch that webinar at your own leisure, pausing whenever necessary. So you can go into the system and practice the thing you want to get better at, and then always come back and watch the next section on the webinar. So know that you have multiple ways to get more information and answer questions here on your Prime MLS help desk. Of course, if you ever want to reach out to Prime MLS staff, we are also happy to help and answer questions. You can reach out to us on your help desk. In the bottom right corner, you've got that live chat option. So if you open that up, just choose your group, and that would be the folks best able to answer your questions. If you're ever unsure, just choose technical support, because we'll always make sure the right person is answering your question. And then once you initiate that chat, give us a few minutes and you'll be chatting with somebody at Prime MLS who is more than happy to help and answer your questions. Additionally, you can also reach out to us on your Prime MLS help desk. Back on the home page here, you've got the option to create a ticket. Creating a ticket is just sending us an email. Once again, you're going to start with that group. And if you're ever reaching out on a weekend or a holiday, always choose technical support, because we always have a Prime MLS staff member watching the tech support email, which is support@primemls.com, even when the office is closed for weekends and holidays, because we still want to provide you that excellent service. Once you choose your group, go ahead, put in your subject, type out your question, attach a file if that will help us understand what the issue is. And then as soon as you hit submit, just note that you are immediately going to get a response. And that response is just letting you know your ticket has been submitted. Give us a little bit of time after that, and then we'll be getting back to you with the answer to that question. Not only can you find all this information with additional help and support here on your help desk, and the ability to reach out to Prime MLS staff with chat and tickets, but you're also going to easily be able to review any past email communications with Prime MLS, and you're going to be able to do that behind your tickets. When you click on your tickets, make sure you go up to the open or pending box, use that drop down and select all tickets. That's going to show you that history of communication. Not only will you be able to review maybe a question you asked us last week, last month, or even last year, but you're also going to find those affidavits that we email out. Now, when we email those affidavits out, they always go to the email address we have on file. That's the email address that's showing on your Prime MLS dashboard. If you happen to register for this webinar with a different email address, we send that affidavit to that email address as well. And in addition to those 2 emails, you can always come to your Prime MLS help desk, open up your tickets, select all, and you're going to find those affidavits here along with your past communications on other Prime MLS topics. So as you can see, your Prime MLS help desk is indeed very helpful for a number of reasons. And remember, you're going to be able to review all the information we cover in this 2-hour webinar here on your help desk, between going behind that Paragon Connect ticket tab and also that recorded webinar tab. So let's go ahead, jump back onto our Prime MLS dashboard. One more thing I want to point out here, in addition to being able to reach out to Prime MLS via tickets and chat on your help desk, you can also reach out to us via phone. You're always welcome to use these phone numbers to reach out to us during office hours because, like I said, we're always happy to help and answer any questions you may have. Now, let's dive into the good stuff. We're going to be going into Paragon Connect, and when you click on that tab here on your dashboard, it's going to take you right to your Paragon Connect dashboard. Now, one of the first things you may notice is that my Paragon Connect dashboard likely looks different than yours. And that's because you can customize your Paragon Connect dashboard a couple of different ways. You can change the colors and the photo that shows here on your Paragon Connect dashboard. I'm going to show you how you can do that behind your top left hamburger menu down in settings. But before we do that, we're going to do kind of an overview of your Paragon Connect dashboard because there is a second way that you can also customize your Paragon Connect dashboard, and that is in the top right corner. This is customizing your dashboard, and that is going to be your widgets. Your widgets are containers of information, so you can hide your buyer activity if you don't want that to show on your Paragon Connect dashboard. You can also add, remove, and rearrange these additional widgets of information. This lets you jump right into sections of Paragon Connect right from your dashboard, and it makes it a little bit faster than having to go up to your hamburger menu and then go into all those main menu options from there. So if you want to customize your dashboard, you can do that in that top right corner, and you're going to find those instructions on customizing your widgets on your dashboard and also changing the colors and that photo that show on your dashboard back on your Prime MLS help desk under that Paragon Connect tab. Now, to the right of your customized dashboard option, you have your little megaphone, and that megaphone is going to be all of those messages coming from Prime MLS. So we send those pop-up messages in Paragon to let you know about training opportunities, system downtimes, office closures, rule changes, important information that we want you to be aware of. You're going to be able to see that information here. It will show as a pop-up line when you when you access Paragon Connect. And after you've reviewed that information, it's going to remain available behind the megaphone until the time it expires. So let's talk a little bit about some of the information you can jump into right from your Paragon Connect dashboard. You have your power search, and that's kind of in the top center section of your Paragon Connect dashboard. This is where you can put in an MLS number or multiple MLS numbers separated by comma and jump into specific property reports right from your Paragon Connect dashboard. You can also search for a listing by an address or a partial address. You can also search for other customers and offices of Prime MLS. And you can also jump into contact information and save searches, all from your power search. But of course, you also have your buyer activity information here, and this is going to give you quick access into your contacts as well. Of course, we'll be talking more about that when we go into contacts in the Collaboration Center a little bit later in our webinar. Now, when we go back up to the power search, you'll notice right to the right, you have another action icon, and this is going to take you into your Near Me map search here in Paragon Connect. You have multiple ways to get to that map search. You can access right from the top of your page here, or if you scroll down in your Quick Actions widget, notice you also have access into that Paragon Connect Near Me map. We'll be doing a full map overview in just a few moments. You can also jump into some of those most used sections of Paragon Connect. So if you want to jump into a residential search, go into your listings or create a new listing, All those options are available under quick actions. You also have a widget called Hotsheets. I like to think of your Hotsheets like your market monitor and Paragon Professional on steroids. Because in Paragon Professional, you can only customize that market monitor one way. And then if you want to make changes, you have to go back and re-customize that one market monitor that you have access to. Well, you can already see that here in Paragon Connect, you're not limited to just one hot sheet. You can have multiple hot sheets, and you can have up to 10 of those hot sheets that populate here on your Prime MLS dashboard for easy access. I'm going to show you how you can customize your daily hot sheet so you can come in and get that overview of your market area right from your Paragon Connect dashboard under hot sheets. But we'll do that after we do that map review. Before we jump into the map, we want to scroll back up to the top of our Paragon Connect dashboard. And now we want to go behind our top left hamburger menu. That hamburger menu holds all the different sections of Paragon Connect. And you also have this little section at the top. So if you open up that caret, if anybody's giving you assume identity privileges into their account, you're going to be able to go into their account with assume identity right here. Just like Prime MLS has a help desk, Paragon also has a help desk. And if you want to access Paragon's help desk, you can do that from this section as well. All your other sections are those different functions of Paragon. So if you wanted to start searching, you can go into properties, and this is where you have all your search options. You've got your map search, you've got hot sheets, you can set up searches for tours and open houses. Tours are for your fellow agents, open houses for the general public. You've got all of your classes broken out here, including your multi-class search, which lets you search one or a combination of different classes. So if you had a client that was looking for single family homes and also multifamily homes, you don't have to set up two different searches. You can go into multi-class and run a search for single family homes and multifamily homes all in one search. You also have the ability to jump into any of your saved searches, regardless of class and the last 5 searches that you've run and you've looked at results from. As we continue making our way down our hamburger menu, we want to go all the way down to the very bottom, and that's our settings. This is where you can update your photo that shows in the Paragon MLS software. Behind my profile, you're going to also be able to update that office logo. And if you go into email settings and your email says anything other than email address verified here, you want to go ahead and verify that email address. That just lets Paragon know that that is a working, accurate email address. So not only can you make those changes in your profile section, I'm going to use my back arrow because that is another way I can navigate in Paragon Connect. Not something you can do in Paragon Professional. So one click of that back arrow and I'm right back in my profile settings, and one more click and I'm right back to all of my setting options. If I wanted to change the colors that I see in Paragon Connect and change that banner photo from my Paragon Connect dashboard, you're going to find that option in systems, and you can go right into choose theme to make those changes. Now, once again, I could use my back arrow a couple of clicks back and I'd be back on my Paragon Connect dashboard. And I can also navigate using that hamburger menu. So if I open that once again and click on dashboard, that's going to take me right back to where we started. And now we can see, hey, look, we just added a new message and it's talking about Cubicasa. That's one of your Prime MLS customer benefits. It allows you, this is particularly great for listing agents, to be able to download an app to your phone And then when you have a new listing, you can use that app to scan your listing. You can send those scans back to Cubicasa, and they're going to create those floor plans for you within 48 to 24 hours. And that is no cost to you because that is one of your many Prime MLS subscription benefits. So I could open this up and look at that message. This is likely telling me that we've got some training coming up on Cubicasa. And I can also close that. And that message is going to continue to display in my megaphone until the time that it expires. Now we want to start taking advantage of some of those quick actions here on our Paragon Connect dashboard. So one of the things you can jump right into is your near me map. So I'm going to take the advantage of this icon being right at the top of the page, and I'm going to go into my near me map. We just give the map a second to kind of populate. Oh, and I did not change my settings before this class because I always like to show you the very first time you come into your map, you are going to notice that it is going to be populated with a ton of property flags. So let me get us there. There we go. Now, this is likely what your map is going to look like, but it's not going to open up at the same location as mine does because this near me map in Paragon Connect is based on your physical location. So it's always going to open up wherever you are, but you can always use that magnifying glass on the kind of center right side of your screen. And that's going to be the most efficient way to move around the map. But before you move around the map, you got to kind of be able to see the map, right? And so you want to go up to your filters. I kind of just gave you a little preview of this. And you want to filter what you see every time you come to the map. Because right now, it's kind of giving me the history of the MLS for this specific area on the map. And that's because your near me map is a multi-class search option. So you're going to see in that top left corner up by your hamburger menu, running results, and also that this is a multi-class search. So that means right now I'm seeing all of my status and all of the different classes. And that's why my map is flooded with these little property flags that I can always click on and go in and get that property report information. So I'm going to narrow down what I see on my map by going up to my filters in the top right corner. And I'm going to limit my listing statuses. Typically, I like to see just those active, which is active and coming soon. And I'm going to limit property class because I generally don't want to see all the different property classes when I'm on my map. I like to see residential. That means single family condos and mobiles. Maybe I want to see multifamilies too. And maybe sometimes I like to see rentals. So I'm just narrowing this down and I'm not going to hit apply. I'm going to make this my default search. And that's what we saw when we first logged in because I went up to my little disk icon. This is always how I can save in Paragon Connect. I click on that disk icon. And instead of giving it a name and saving it and just making it one of my many multi-class saved searches, I'm going to make it my default. The default means that's what's going to show every time I come to the map, unless I make some changes. So I'm going to make this my default search. I'm going to hit save. We're going to give the map a chance to update, and we're going to exit out of our pop-up. And now I'm only going to see the information I want to see. If I go to my bottom right corner, I can kind of zoom out. And the more I zoom out, the more property flags start to populate because we're changing that view that we see on the map. And of course, we're getting that running total up in the top left corner by our hamburger menu. I can also kind of click and drag on the map and that changes what I see. And of course, those property flags populate as, I move around. Now notice I have a couple of those red circles. Red circles tend to mean those properties are close together and I'm just too zoomed out to see those properties. So generally, let's kind of focus in the center of my screen. Let's zoom in a little bit more. And as we zoom in, we see those circles start to burst unless they're both in the same building, or it's an example of a listing agent marketing a property in more than one class. That's a great benefit, and we're going to talk more about that when we're talking listing input and maintenance. So already you're kind of getting a feel of how to start using your map. Let's talk about some of your little action icons. We've talked about your filters. So I set my default. Now maybe I want to search for a specific client. And that specific client isn't interested in multifamily properties or rentals. So I'm going to want to narrow down once again what I see on the map. I'm not going to change my default. I'm just going to apply this for this view. I still want to see those active and coming soon properties, but I don't want to see multifamily. I don't want to see rentals. And I don't actually want to see single family condos and mobiles. I just want to see single families. So after property class, I'm going to go down to property type, and I'm going to start typing in single family. I get two options, and that's because single families are available in residential and they're also available in rental. And that's what that RN is for. Not what I'm looking for. I'm looking for that residential single family that they can purchase. So I'm going to make that selection. And now I'm just going to hit apply. And now I'm only seeing those single family properties as I move about the map. And I'm going to start doing some searches here for that specific client, but we're going to talk about some more options here before we start using our paintbrush in the center right side section to start drawing on the map. I always like to point out another feature of Paragon Connect. Regardless of how you're viewing your results, you can always change that view. So right now, makes sense we're in the map view. But if I wanted to see these 4 properties in a spreadsheet view, I could click on my views and go right to that spreadsheet view. I could also see these 4 properties in a thumbnail view. Oh boy, I guess maybe my internet's a little slow today. There we go. Now let's see if it will switch over to that thumbnail view a little faster. Thank goodness it does. So you can always change how you're viewing those properties. We're on the map, so it does make sense. We're going to stick with that map view for now, but that's a great feature of Paragon Connect. You also have your disk icon. So this is how you're able to save your map-based searches. You can use your disk icon, and as you save that search, you're going to be able to pull up any of those saved searches that are multi-class searches from that file folder. And once again, remember, it is one database, 2 different views. So if you saved a map view in Paragon Professional, you're still going to have that option to see it here under that file folder. It doesn't matter if you save that search in Paragon Connect or Paragon Professional. It's available in both of those views for you because it is just one database. We're going to move around the map using our magnifying glass in a bit. And we'll start drawing circles on the map in a little bit as well. We've talked about our zoom in, zoom out options. You also have your Pegman. So if you take Pegman out, this is a feature of Zoom, of the Google Map, not of Zoom. And if you drop that Pegman down, it's going to give you that 360 view of the area. This is only going to be available where the Google car drove down that road and collected that information. So as you get more rural, you may not be able to use your Pegman. When you want to get back to the map, you can use that little arrow that's underneath your hamburger menu in the top left corner. Click on that arrow and it takes you right back to your map. Now you can also toggle on tax. That's in your bottom left corner. And this is how you can get some public record information while you're in the map view here in Paragon. You just have to zoom in to see that information. And once you start seeing those solid color flags, this is going to be where you can get off-market public record information. So if you click on that flag, it's going to take you to the record. And this is information that the parent company of Paragon has pulled in for you. And that's fine information. But I think when I want to see public record information, I think about CRS, real reports, and RPR. Those are all available to you as subscription benefits. And since RPR is built into the Paragon MLS database, you can get that information right from that top right square. So this is that third-party integrations. Here, it's going to include RPR. And if I click on that property report, it's going to take me into that information. Might have to look for it because RPR is very county specific. So right now it's pulling up all the counties in Merrimack County that have 15 Forest in their address. There's 15 Forest in Concord. That's what we were just looking at. So if I click on that, it's going to take me into that public record here in CRS. And I can even scroll down and get all this great information that CRS has collected for me. One of the things I really like about the CRS property report, pulling in all this public record information for me, is it's also pulling in information from FEMA, and that's giving me information on the FEMA flood zones. It's letting me know the risk, the description, but even better than that, it's giving me a clickable link to go right to the source of the information, which is that FEMA website. I'm going to show you how you can turn on a layer in the map and show flood zones, but it's just different colors on the map. It's much more advantageous to be able to go right to the source of the information, which is FEMA, and it takes me right there with that link. So that opens up in a new browser tab. I'm going to go ahead and close that out. And I got to that FEMA link right from the bottom of my CRS property report. Once again, opened in a new browser tab. So I'm going to close that out as well. And then when we click back on the map, we can go ahead and close that integrations out. Last thing I want to show you in this section is another feature of your map. You can watch an off-market property if you want to get notifications on the change of the adjustable rate mortgage associated with that property, change in ownership, change in valuation, and if there's been any foreclosure or tax delinquency information, that can all be emailed to you as well, as long as you're using Property Watch. And that's what that little eye icon is. It allows you to watch this specific address in Concord, New Hampshire for any of those changes. So if I click on that Property Watch, I'm now watching it, and I can even assign it to a contact. Maybe one of my contacts said, this is their dream location, and I just want to keep an eye on it for any changes. Maybe I would want to directly market to that listing to see if they're interested to sell. But this is one of the ways I can start just kind of watching that information, either for me or for a contact, and that's through that Property Watch. So I'm not going to assign it to a contact now. You have Property Watch widget on your Paragon Connect dashboard, and that just gives you that list of properties that you're watching. And then if there's any change in ownership, valuation, foreclosure or tax delinquency information, or a change in that adjustable rate mortgage, you're going to get that email, so you'll know about that change. I'm going to go ahead and exit out of my public record section, and I'm going to toggle that tax off. So now those solid color flags disappear. You can also change your different views for your map. I tend to stay on the road view. I think it's the cleanest view when we're viewing via Zoom. And then here are your layers. We're in the bottom right section of the map. And when you click on those layers, this is where you can turn on those floodplains. So I'm going to turn those on, and I am going to kind of zoom out just a little bit and get kind of over where you can see those color changes on the map. Now, if I continue to zoom out too much, I'm going to lose those flood zone layer colors. So one more click and voila, they're gone. So just know if you're zoomed out too much and you've turned your flood zone layers on, you may just need to zoom in to be able to see that color change. I guess it's all right to have the color change on the map, but it just doesn't give me the information I'm looking for like that FEMA website would. So if I wanted to look on a property report, and this is a property now that is in the Paragon MLS software. I've got that little property flag here, and it's kind of close to those color changes. So I can always click on that flag, and I can jump into CRS right from the property report, and that's going to take me to that CRS property report page. Ooh, definitely my internet must be a little bit slow. So it's now giving me that information. Notice I've got that little icon giving me that Paragon information, even though I'm here in CRS. That just shows that very simpatico relationship between Paragon and CRS. You can get CRS information when you're in Paragon, and when you're in CRS, you can get Paragon information as well. And that's just that relationship between those two different benefit providers. And if I scroll down here, I'm going to be able to see that FEMA flood zone information. So I can see it's a minimal risk, but once again, I love being able to go right to that FEMA website and getting the information directly from the source. So not only can I do that on off-market properties, but I can jump into CRS on those properties that are available in the Paragon MLS database as well. We're going to exit out of FEMA and CRS. Once again, get back to our map. We're on the property report. If I use that little arrow in the top left corner, that's going to take me right back to my map. And let me just get it to go full screen here. There we go. And with that, let's start doing some searching on the map for a client. So maybe I have a client and they've told me they're interested in this kind of northwest area of Concord. So I could go to my little paintbrush and I could start drawing on the map. I have 4 different draw options. Freehand and polygon are going to be my least restrictive shapes. If I want to make a square or rectangular shape, I can do that with a rectangle option. And if I just want to make that perfect circle, then radius is going to do that for me. I like to be able to have options, so I like to use freehand. And it just really lets me use my mouse and my cursor and just kind of make that area that my client has told me they're interested in. Now, once I draw that shape on the map, all the other properties are going away because I've told the map just to focus on this area that my clients are interested in. Now, you can have up to 7 shapes on your map, and that's a benefit because generally your clients aren't just looking in one little area or even just one town. Using your map-based search, if they are interested to be around a specific address, like maybe where they work, or if they want to be, close to, an airport, or if they like to be around a water body, using your map-based search, I think those are an excellent way to find that information for your client using the map-based search rather than just your search template. So maybe my clients have told me they're interested in Babusick Lake down in Merrimack. Could I kind of zoom out and scroll down on my map to get there? I could. But remember, the most efficient way to move around the map is your little search magnifying glass. So when you click on that magnifying glass, this is where you can put a specific address, points of interest, city, and state. So I want to go down to Merrimack. So as I start typing out, that's going to give me that option of Merrimack, New Hampshire. Or if they're maybe big shoppers and they want to be near the outlet mall, you can look around the outlet mall. We're going to go down to Merrimack, and I can see Babusick Lake right over here. So I'm going to exit out of my little search option, and we're going to kind of focus on this area. Another reason that doing a map-based search is great is Babusick Lake is both in Merrimack and also in Amherst. So I want to make sure I'm getting all those potential properties that could work. So I'm going to go ahead and make another shape. Let's maybe do that radius. And we're going to go kind of in the center of the lake. And we're just going to go out to encompass this area around the lake. And I can see once I click out, now I've got some properties in there. Maybe my folks also told me they're interested in an area around Massapequa Lake, and that's up in Manchester and Auburn. So I could also, once again, use my search, go up to Manchester, And I can go around that lake area as well. Once again, we're going to just exit out of that address bar and we're going to draw another shape. So we'll come here and let's maybe do that polygon shape. This allows me to draw straight lines with my mouse and just click when I want to turn. So I can kind of draw any crazy shape all the way around that water body that my client said they're interested in. Maybe we'll come in here, come out here, and then we'll connect that. Once again, now we have a few more properties. Now you'll notice we have a new option on our map. Once we start drawing, in the bottom left corner, we have our shape counter. So once you start drawing on the map, it's going to help you keep track of how many shapes you have. It's also going to give you some options. So when you click on it, if you wanted to remove a shape, you can delete it. If you want to edit a shape, we'll edit that last shape. Maybe I want to make it bigger or smaller. When I do that, notice it just turns the shape bright blue, puts all those little circles around the perimeter. So I can click on any of those circles, draw it out to make it larger, or draw a circle in to make it smaller. Once I'm happy with that, I can hit apply once again. And now I've got some new properties in my shape that has been changed. The other thing that you can do is you can exclude an area within your shape. So we're going to come down to this area. We're going to kind of zoom right in. And I'm going to just say that my clients told me for whatever reason, maybe this is an area they currently live. Maybe they have a relative that lives on Wilson Crossing, but they're just not really interested in this road or this little area. So I could exclude it. In order to exclude it, I have to tell the map which area I want to exclude. So we'll do that rectangular shape and I'll just kind of encompass this area. Oop, and I might need to actually edit it. So let's go back. Let's edit that and make it just a little bit bigger so we get that whole area. There we go. We can hit apply. And now I'm going to go back to my shape counter and I'm going to tell the system to exclude this shape. So when I go back, notice now I have that fourth rectangle. That's that rectangle shape I just drew. I'm going to go to exclude. It's going to turn this shape red and that property there that is there is going to go away because we told the system never show results in this area. Once I hit that exclude, the map does exactly what it's supposed to do. And now if that kind of encompasses my search for my client, I could come up and I could save that search. I could save it for myself by giving it a name and then just clicking save, and then it will be available for me behind the file folder. Or I could take this map-based search and start access to contacts in the Collaboration Center for that contact by clicking on Assign Contact. But we're going to do that a little bit later. Any questions on using all your great features in your Paragon Connect Near Me map? Remember, it's a lot of information, so you're going to be able to review it not only on your Paragon Connect mobile and more webinar available on your Prime MLS Help Desk, but this is also in the 1-hour webinar Beyond the Basics, Hotsheets, Map Search, and Customizing Results webinar as well. So speaking of Hotsheets, let's talk about Hotsheets. I'm going to go back to my hamburger menu and we're going to click on Dashboard. You can access your Hotsheets right from the Hotsheet widget here on your Paragon Connect dashboard. And I've got my daily Hotsheet all set up. This allows me to look at the information on the area that I consider to be my market area. I can come in each day and I can get those updates. And then if I want to look throughout the day, I'm going to just see any new information. So if you want to set up that daily Hotsheet, you can do that right from this widget. Anytime you see your snowman menu, that's your overflow menu. That means there's more information behind there for you. So when I click on this, Manage Hotsheets would allow me to see all my Hotsheets, the up to 10 that I have set with an alert. That means they're showing here on my Hotsheet alert widget on my Paragon Connect dashboard. Or any of the other Hotsheets that I can have, because you can have unlimited Hotsheets that just aren't set for that alert. So I can see those from Manage Hotsheets, and I can create a new one right from here. So when I click on Create, that's going to show me that I can click number of days back. I can do a date range. I can do from the last time this was run. If this is my daily hot sheet, I probably want to see what's happened either today. So if I choose 0 days back, that's going to show me what happened from midnight today until this point today. I like to see just a little bit more information on that. So I like to set my hot sheet to 1. That's going to show me what happened from midnight yesterday until this point today. And then I'm going to go down to my filters. This is my daily hot sheet. So I want to see all the things, price changes and status changes on the geographic area that I consider to be my market area. So I'm going to select all those filters. And then I'm going to set my market area under criteria. So when I open up that criteria container, this is where I'm going to be able to narrow down the options. Probably going to want to look in the state or states that I'm licensed in. So if I am licensed just in New Hampshire, I can make that selection. And then what areas do I consider to be my market area? Probably not the whole state. Maybe I mostly like to work in Hillsborough County, but sometimes I also want to know what's happening in a couple of cities in Merrimack County. And then I also like to keep track of what's happening in Portsmouth, and that's in Rockingham County. So I'm going to put all 3 of those counties in. But once again, I don't want to know what's happening in every single city and town in all 3 of those large counties. So I'm going to go into cities and just type the specific cities that I consider to be my market area. So in Hillsborough, maybe I primarily work in Nashua, Merrimack, Bedford, and Manchester. And then in Merrimack County, I like to know what's happening in Hooksett and Concord. And then remember, the only reason why I added Rockingham County is I also like to keep track of what's happening over in Portsmouth. So now I've narrowed down my daily hot sheet to show me the information in these specific 7 cities that I consider to be my market area. So in order to save this hot sheet, I can go up to my disk icon. I can give it a name. I'm going to call this my daily number 2 hot sheet. And of course, I'm going to set it up for alerts. That means I'm going to be able to access it from my Paragon Connect dashboard, and I'm going to hit save. And now I've saved that information. I know I've saved that information because I can go up to my file folder, and this is where I'm going to be able to see that I saved my daily number 2 hot sheet. I can come in and make changes to up to 10 of my hot sheets that are set with alerts. And remember, there's my snowman menu. So those are my additional options. If I decided I didn't need to see an alert on this one, I could always remove that. And then that's just going to move that hot sheet down to my other hot sheets that I don't see on my Paragon Connect dashboard. I could also go in to my snowman menu, put that alert back on. I can edit it. If I edit it, I might want to rename it. And if I want to completely delete it, and I do for this one, I can just hit delete. And now that's no longer saved for my hot sheets. And because you can have unlimited hot sheets, it's great to be able to set up some specific searches. Maybe you have a client and they've looked at everything that's available in the area they want to see. So you could set up a hot sheet for back on the market. Maybe my client's just interested in Concord and I want to see what's come back on the market in the last 30 days. I could set that up, and that would be an easy way for me to see that information. And because it's set for an alert, I'd be able to see that right from my Paragon Connect dashboard. Hot sheets are a fabulous feature of Paragon Connect. I love that you can have unlimited hot sheets, and you can really customize them to show you the information that is important to you. And if it's no longer important, you can delete it so you don't have to see it on your hot sheets. Any questions I can answer on creating a hot sheet and your uses for hot sheets? Now, once you know how to set up your hot sheets, the cool thing is you also know how to set up those searches for open houses and tours. In order to see those, we're going to go up to our hamburger menu, down into properties, and that's where you can set up those tours and open houses. So when you open that up, very similar to setting up your hot sheets, and you've got all those criteria options, the same ones here. You can save, and then you can manage your tours and open house searches from your file folder. We're going to use our back arrow here so we get back into our search options. And if I had clicked on residential from my Paragon Connect dashboard under quick actions, that's going to open up the same place my residential option here under properties does. So when I click on residential, this is going to take me to my residential search template. All the same fields and containers that you're used to seeing in Paragon Professional, many of the same features, but even more. So we're going to talk about that. First of all, right off the bat, I like how this looks. It's a more modern layout. You've got more white spaces. So all of those fields aren't kind of crammed together. I can just scroll through my residential search template, and I'm going to be able to see all those fields where I can input my criteria to see the results that I want to see. Now let's just do a little bit of vocabulary. So right now we have two containers on our search template. And if I scroll back up to the top of the page, I can collapse all my containers. So that's going to show me those two. Primary criteria container, that's where I've got all those basic fields that I normally search by. And then, of course, we've got our dates criteria, and that's where all those date options live for those different statuses. You can have those collapse, or you can have them open or expanded so you can see that information. You also have fields in your container, and in your fields, you put criteria, and that is that search information, once again, that you want to see in those results. So let's start building a basic search. Once again, you've got property type, and in residential, that means single family, condo, and mobiles. If you don't put anything in this field, your results are going to be all three of those. So if I just wanted to see condos, I could click in the field and I could select condo, or I could just start typing out condo and that option is going to appear for me to select. I'm also going to start narrowing down by statuses. So I like to see active and coming soon. Coming soon means those properties are in a pre-marketing option here in the MLS. No showings are allowed during that coming soon period, but it's a maximum time frame of 10 days. So anything in coming soon, sometime between the next 10 days, whenever the listing agent has indicated the activation date, on that activation date, it becomes active. And that means days on market start to accrue and showings can begin. So I like to be able to see both active and coming soon. Now, because we added coming soon as an option at the beginning of the year, that also meant we needed to add this field called listing visibility type. And in that field, you always want to make sure MLS listings and coming soon are in as criteria. That allows you to save your searches and get accurate results. I'll show you where you can find more information on coming soon as a status, and also why you need this field when we're talking about listing input and maintenance. And there is a document on your Prime MLS help desk called Coming Soon, Frequently Asked Questions, and it's got all that information for you. I'm going to continue building out my search template. And notice I already have the state of New Hampshire saved in that state field as criteria. And you can save information on your search template. And that just makes running your search even easier and faster. So if I'm only licensed in New Hampshire, it makes sense. I might want to save that on my search template so I don't have to go in and put that information in every single time I want to run a search. Now we're going to do a specific price range for these condos for my client, and they're interested in anything between $300,000 and we'll say $500,000. And notice as I'm putting information on my search template, I'm still getting those running results. And of course, those results are going to get smaller and smaller the more I narrow down the information on my search template. So maybe my clients say they're interested anywhere in Merrimack County. So I go to run that search and I put that in. And of course, now I have 20 possible results. And I could see those results when I click on search in the bottom right corner. But anytime a client kind of gives you that big of a geographic area, it is not unusual that they may come back and say something like, okay, now we know we said we'd live anywhere in Merrimack County, but actually we kind of forgot about Concord and Hooksett being in Merrimack County. Those are kind of bigger cities. We're really looking more for a small town feel. So could you rerun the search? Just don't include any properties that are in Concord or Hooksett. Sure. I could come into city and I could come in and select all those towns that are not Concord or Hooksett. But that's a lot of clicking, right? Let me show you a little shortcut. If you go to your advanced options, those kind of toggles there, you're going to be able to change this equals to not equals. And that means you're going to exclude the information. Much quicker to exclude Concord and Hooksett rather than going in and selecting all those cities and towns. So I'm going to come to advanced options. I'm going to change that to not equals to, and I'm going to pop in Concord and Hooksett. And now I'm giving my clients exactly what they want to see. And now we have a whopping total of 9 properties that could potentially work for them that are condos in this price range that are active and coming soon. Now, if I want to change that filter back to equals, that means I'm going to be showing them exactly what they do not want to see, only properties in Hooksett or Concord. And another nice little feature here, if I use this larger X in that city field, instead of clicking on each of these individually to remove them, I can remove everything in that field with one easy click. Now, the other thing I can do, notice when I was up here and I was collapsing or expanding my containers, I can also clear all information with my container if I want to start over with a fresh, clear search template. But notice when I do that, it takes out that information I need on my listing visibility type. I had that saved in my default residential search template, and I can easily go back to that. I've got my little snowman menu up here in my top right corner. So when I click on that snowman menu, generally it lets me go back to my default. Let me refresh and see if it will bring that up. And voila, indeed it does, because it was showing my residential default template here. I just cleared all that criteria. So I don't even have to go back. I can just refresh and it's going to come right back the way I saved it. So nice little tool there. Let's talk about searching by features. So I'm going to scroll down and we're actually going to go ahead and remove the information in our, not our listing visibility type, wrong field. So once again, let's refresh real quick. I wanted to make sure there was nothing in my status and I want to remove that state. So we're going to do that and we're going to scroll down and we're going to talk about searching by features. We have 3 different feature fields: must have, must not have, must have 1 or more. Luckily, you've also got that little magnifying glass. Anytime you see that, that means you can click and see all the options you can potentially put in that field. So when we click here, this is going to show all our feature categories, and there are plenty of them to choose from. If I scroll kind of down to the bottom, I've got architectural style. And if I go over to the right caret and open up that container, I'm now going to be able to see all those different individual architectural styles that are available for me to choose from. And lo and behold, I've got those same 3 fields: must have, must not have, must have 1 or more. So if I had a client and they told me they absolutely were not interested in antique properties, I could come here and I could exclude those from my search results by going into antique not. but they're only going to be excluded if the listing agent, when they were inputting that property into the Paragon MLS software, also went down to all those multi-select feature fields, came down to architectural style, and selected that their property is an antique property. Remember, whenever you're searching by features, you're wholly at the mercy of the listing agent and how well they promoted all the features of their listing. And we all know some listing agents are better than others. So I always recommend, if you're searching by feature fields, you also want to add that field of public remarks. Why do you want to add public remarks? Well, we hope if that listing agent was lazy and didn't go into those multi-select feature fields to fully promote all the features their property has, they at the very least put that information in their public remarks, and then that would be searchable for you. So I'll show you how to add public remarks next, but let's finish talking about searching by features. So we're going to close out our features and we're going to actually use our feature fields. Maybe you have a client and they tell you they're probably going to buy a split, and you know that splits can be split entry or split level whenever the listing agent is putting them in. So you want to make sure you get all of them. So you're going to select both of them. And then maybe they also say that they're interested in antique properties. And then maybe one of them says, you love antiques, but I love bungalows. So let's look for bungalows. So we've got that information here. And as we add that, and as we go up to our hamburger menu, notice we've got 0 results. Now, a good way to see why you're getting the results that you're getting, you've got your criteria summary up in your top right corner. When you click on criteria summary, it's only going to show you the fields that you have criteria in. So I can see I don't even have a geographic location set and I'm getting 0. Kind of makes sense if I think about where I put this information. I put it in the must have. I always think of and here. That means the system is searching for split level and split entry and antique and bungalow homes. They have to have all of those things, and that crazy house doesn't exist. I really wanted it to search for all of those statuses individually. And of course, if there's a property that has multiple options there, give me those as well. In order for the system to do that, I need to put it in the right field, must have one or more. So when I click here and now I start typing in splits, and there's my split entry and split level. And then of course I want to get those bungalows in, and we can't forget the antiques. So now I've got them all in the correct field. And of course, I'm getting way too many options. And that's because, and if I click on criteria summary one more time, I'm going to go back to those full search template. Now I can start narrowing it down by geographic region and find exactly what my client is looking for in terms of those different style types. Any questions on searching by features? All right, I'm going to go ahead and remove the information from this field, and let's add a field to our search template. We want to add public remarks. So I'm going to go right up here. Anytime you see that little gear icon in Paragon Connect and Paragon Professional, you can always customize, meaning add, remove, and rearrange fields. So I'm going to click on the gear icon, and I want to add a field. So it makes sense. I'm going to click on plus, right? I'm going to click on plus. And I'm not adding a new container where I can put different fields in. I'm just adding a field to one of the containers I have on my search template. So we're going to click on that add field. I could scroll through all these options to find what I'm looking for. It's going to be so much faster to use the search field. And if I just start typing out remarks, that's going to show me any field with remark. I'm looking for public remarks. So I'm going to select, want it to be in my primary criteria, and I'm going to hit add. Now, anytime I add, it's always going to add it to the bottom of that container, and there is public remarks. I don't have to leave it there. I'm going to click, hold, and drag, and bring that right up with my feature fields, because to me, they work together and I want to have those fields together. Now I can also look at my other fields that are showing on my template. If there's anything I don't use, maybe I never search for mobile homes, well, then I don't have to have it on my search template. If I unselect now, when I hit save, the system's going to do three things for me. It's going to remove these mobile fields that I've unselected. It's also going to add that public remarks field, and it's going to place public remarks exactly where I want it. So I'm going to hit save, cross my fingers. We should get a little green pop up letting me know my changes have been saved. I can scroll down. Do I see public remarks? Indeed, I do. Hopefully, I don't see any of those mobile fields. I do not, and they have been removed. So the system has now customized my search template exactly the way I wanted it to be. Now, I do have to do one more thing. I need to save it, and I need to decide, do I want to add some criteria? Maybe I want to put that state back in here. So we'll put New Hampshire. And maybe I even want to put in active and coming soon so that I can always make those searches easily the second I come to this template. So now all I need to do is go up to my little save. I'm going to save this as my default template, hit save. And now every time I come to residential search, I'm going to have that information or criteria in those fields. I'm not going to be seeing those fields I don't need that I've rearranged. And I'm going to have access to be able to search by public remarks. And if I wanted to make this just one of my many searches that I can access, instead of selecting my default, I could give it a name, and I've got that ability to pull up that search from my saved searches. Now you also have that option to pull in your last 5 searches that you've looked at information or results. And if you didn't save it, this would be a great way to pull that up. So if I go in here, I'm going to see a search I ran a couple of days ago. That's going to fill that criteria on my search template, and it's going to let me see those condos just in Hooksett or Concord, those 11 options, and I can go to search and start reviewing that information, which we're going to do now. So we're going to talk about results. If nobody has any questions on customizing and using your search template. All right, let me take a sip of tea here. And let's jump into our results. So I'm hitting search, and now it's taking me to these 11 condos that are in Concord or Hooksett. I'm looking at my thumbnail view. Remember, we can always change that view because there's my view change option. From here, I can get right into my Paragon Connect property report. I think your Paragon Connect property report provides well more information than any of your options in Paragon Connect. You've got your photos, you've got your thumbnails. As you click on your thumbnail, it's going to update that larger photo. If you want to look at full screen photos, you can go into Media Gallery to do that. Underneath your main photo, great information. Not only can you jump into a map, you can go specifically to floor plans as long as that listing agent has added that. And I'll show you in listing input and maintenance how you can do that. Floor plans, becoming increasingly something your buyers want to see. Once again, this is how you take advantage of that CubiCasa free Prime MLS benefit. And you can add that app to your phone, scan your listing, send that scan to CubiCasa, and within 24 to 48 hours, they provide you with floor plans. And you can have those in a specific section in Paragon Connect, making it easier for folks to view that information. Now, you also have a document section, another huge benefit here in Paragon Connect. For years, people said in Paragon Professional, why can't we print all the print documents in one job? And they just couldn't do that in that older database. In Paragon Connect, you can. So you've got that print icon in the top right corner. And as long as the document is a PDF, you can select all. And in one print job, it's going to print all those documents for you. Of course, if there was something that you didn't need, maybe you don't want to print out that whole long declaration and bylaws, you can just unselect that and it's going to print everything that is selected as long as it's a PDF. So we're going to exit out of here. We're going to exit out of that back to our property report. You're going to get all that information you're used to seeing in Paragon Professional and more. So you've got your remarks and basic information right at the top. As you scroll down to see all the field information, just click on Show More, and that's going to show you all of that information. You're going to be able to jump into some of those benefits and tools available to you. I mentioned that not only does CRS, but Real Reports and RPR also provide public record information. So great to be able to kind of compare and contrast what the listing agent has put in Paragon and what those other sites are pulling up via public record. So you can jump right into those options. You also have additional third-party integrations, and that's going to be up in that top right corner with your third-party integration tool. We're going to continue scrolling down the property report. This is where you're going to find some information you're used to seeing in Paragon Professional, plus more specific to Paragon Connect. Agent Office, in that container, this is where you're going to find that list agent information. And remember, if you're on your phone and you go into this property report and you need to give Beth a call, you're going to be able to do that right from your phone by clicking on that phone number. Once again, another huge benefit of Paragon Connect, making it easier for you to get in touch with that list agent and get answers to any questions you may have. Of course, if there's tours or open house, you're going to see that in that container. Documents are also here to be viewed and printed as well. You're going to see property history, some public record information that the parent company of Paragon is pulling in. Here's that new information, and this is coming from the Collaboration Center, a mortgage center calculator where folks can put in down payment and rate, and they can get an estimate of what their monthly payments would be. So much great information under community reports. So when you open up this section, you're going to see there's 4 different sections. Community is statistical information based on this zip code. Really helpful if you've got folks from out of town moving in. This provides them with some great information specific to this zip code. They can get school overview information, property value information. My favorite section is nearby establishments, probably because when I was a listing agent, clients were always asking, well, how far is this house from the fire station? Or could I walk to get a cup of coffee? And I'd have to get on the map and try to figure it out. Those days are over. Come into nearby establishments and you're going to see up to 300 locations and how close they are to that property address. And if you click on all nearby, you can narrow it down. So if we go into eating or drinking, we can see that they can easily walk to McDonald's and get a cup of coffee in the morning, maybe a big Egg McMuffin. That is less than a half a mile from that property. And of course, they've got some other options as well. Now, you can share all of this information out of Paragon Connect with your share option in the bottom right corner. And if you open that up, if you've told some fellow agents that once this is going to be in the system, you're going to let them know. Now you can send that email directly to other Prime MLS customers. That means this information is going to include agent-sensitive information, and you can email that out or get a link and share that link however you would want. If you want to share it out with customers or clients, you're going to want to share with public. You've got email, text, or copy link option there. And if you want to print, you've got your print icon in that top right corner. Couple of print options. Connect View and Agent Full are showing you those agent sensitive information sections, whereas Public Connect View and Customer Full do not. I do expect that we'll get some more print options as we go throughout the year and into 2027. We'll cancel here. We've talked about your additional third-party integration square that you can click on, and you've got some other options to jump into right from that property report. Just as you can save your listings, you can also save results, and that's what listing carts are all about. Of course, I could jot that MLS number down on a piece of paper and hope I don't lose it. But let's face it, a lot of times we do lose those little piece of papers, and then we have to go back and search for the property again. If you save it to a listing cart, it's always going to be available for you. Listing carts are also great if you know you're going to be doing a CMA and you start looking through the system and finding some good comps. You can just call that listing cart that address for the CMA you're doing, and then just save those comps into that listing cart. And then when you're ready to do that CMA, some of the work has already been done for you because you've got some comps saved under a listing cart. The next little option here is a feature of contacts in the Collaboration Center, which we'll be talking about next. And this is a feature that lets you manually add a property into your Contacts Collaboration Center that wouldn't show up there otherwise. So it means it's outside of that saved search. Maybe, this property in Concord would be great for somebody who was kind of looking in Bow and Hooksett. If this Concord condo has everything they're looking for, you want to make sure they know about it. So you can use agent recommended, and it's going to show up in a special section on their Collaboration Center. And that lets them know you specifically added that to their Collaboration Center just for them. And just like you can look for different fields when you're inputting your search template, information on your search template, you can also look for fields when you're looking at a property report as well. And that's what that little find magnifying glass is going to do for you. And while it's great to be able to share one listing at a time, often you want to share multiple listings at a time, right? You can still do that. That's why you have that little check mark, checkbox next to the listing address. When I check on that, now I'm going to be able to add multiple properties by going through my previous or next options. I can review the information and then find those properties that I want to share. So maybe we'll share this one and go through the list. And maybe we'll share this one as well. Now I've got those 3 selected. I have my share options. I can use that recommended to automatically add these properties to a Contacts Collaboration Center. I can add them to a listing cart because I have more than one property selected now. I can also use the Google Directions option from the Google Map, and that would help me set up a tour if I'm, setting up these properties for clients to see. And of course, I can also print multiple documents at once as well. In addition to being able to do all of this in your thumbnail view, of course, you can do it from other views as well. And we want to take a moment to talk about your spreadsheet view because you have an even more advantageous benefit there. You can customize your spreadsheets. So when I come down to my spreadsheet view, this is a nice view because you've got all those columns and you're starting to get information that you would otherwise kind of have to search for on that property report, right? And it's great that you can organize your spreadsheet. So if I want to organize by, say, list price, I can click on that heading, and now it's going to put all the properties in order from lowest to highest. If I click again, it's going to flip that around and make it highest to lowest. Now, I can only do that one column at a time right now, but coming soon, you're going to be able to customize and organize the information by up to 3 columns. Now, you can also customize. There's that little gear icon, and that means I can add columns to my spreadsheet, rearrange them, and remove them. You can have up to 15 columns on your spreadsheet. And I just want to go back to that spreadsheet option because this is where I start to create new spreadsheets. I can have up to 5 spreadsheets for every property class. So if I want to add a new one, I can just come in here and I want to copy that. I want to give it a name. I'm never very creative in my class, so I'll just call this July 16th, and we'll go ahead and save this. And then I'm just going to refresh so we can see that spreadsheet in our list. When I go to views, and now there's the one we just created. So from here, I can click on that spreadsheet and now I can come up and customize it. Maybe I want to know if there's garage access, if any of these properties have a garage. Maybe I also want to know about central air. So let's add those two columns. I'm going to click. This looks familiar, right? We want to add something, so we're going to click plus. Once again, we could scroll through once they populate here, but it's going to be fastest just to use my search. I wanted to know garage. Let's spell it right. Garage. There we go. Garage capacity. So I'm going to select that one and I'm going to go ahead and add. And of course, it's going to add it to the bottom. We'll fix that in a minute. But let's also add central AC. So central. There we go, cooling, central AC. We're going to select that one. We're also going to add, and of course, that's all the way at the bottom. That means I have to scroll all the way to the right of my spreadsheet. I don't want to do that. So I'm going to click, hold, and drag. And I'm going to bring these right up to the top, right next to MLS number. And let's bring up central cooling. Put that right below garage. And like how that looks, so I'm going to go ahead and hit save. Hopefully, I don't have more than 15 fields. But if I did, the system would let me know. So now we've added those fields. And now I can see, wow, almost all of these have a garage and almost all of them have central air. So I'm going to organize by central air. First, it's going to give me the no's because it's in alphabetical order. I'm going to click again, and now it's going to give me the yeses. And now I can use this information to decide which properties would be good to let my clients know about. If central air is really what's important and to have a garage, I can see there are really only now, four or five condos that have both of those. And then if it was also important to keep the condo fee under $400, well, that one rules this one out now. And now, instead of having to go into that property report and look for this information, I have found it so much faster by customizing my spreadsheet. And I can share these 4 properties with them, and that has those features and, keeps that fee below that amount that maybe their pre-approval stipulates. Any questions on your results, sharing results, or customizing spreadsheets? All right, let's jump into contacts and the collaboration center. And we are actually going to use these results and this search to go ahead and set this up for a contact. And I can do that because I have my little save search icon up there. So I'm going to click on that disk. I'm always going to give it a meaningful name. So this is condos. Apparently I can't spell today. Condos in Concord and Hooksett. We'll abbreviate. And I always want to put my client's last name. That helps make it a unique search name. And it also lets me know that this search is attached to a contact, which can be helpful if I'm kind of cleaning up my list of searches. I don't want to accidentally delete something that's attached to a contact. So we're going to set this up for Betty Byer. And I'm not saving this for myself. I'm now assigning it to a contact. And if I already had Betty set up as a contact, I'd just be able to click on her name over here, but she's not there. So I'm going to add her with that plus. I need 3 pieces of information: first name, last name, email address. So Betty Byer, always leaving auto notifications on. It lets the system do the work for me. Agent preview makes this a manual process. You would have to go in and manually add the property to your contacts collaboration center. Kind of defeats the purpose of auto notifications. But when you have those really, really picky clients, agent preview is how you can still use the collaboration center. It just means you're going to have to do the work to add those specific properties that meet their long list of requirements into their collaboration center. So first name, last name, email address. One more thing, and then we're all done setting up our contact. So I'm going to let her borrow my email address at Prime EasyCMA.com. And I'm going to go ahead and hit save. We're going to get one more pop-up. This is letting us know the search name. Your client does see the search name, so don't get too creative. And you can have up to 500 saved searches for every contact you have. You're not likely to ever going to have, more than maybe a few searches for your contact, because maybe they're looking for condos. Maybe they're also looking for raw land. Maybe they're also interested in multifamilies. So you can have a number of different searches set up for them. But it's really designed so you can also set yourself up as a contact, and then you can get those automatic notifications on any areas that you're watching. That also really helps you understand how contacts in the Collaboration Center works, not just from an agent standpoint, but also from a buyer standpoint. From this saved search, there really is nothing more you need to do. There's an automatic email that goes out, so you don't need to add a personal message. You can if you want to, but really you don't need to. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save. I'm going to get another little green pop-up, and now this lets me know that this search has been attached to my contact, Betty Buyer. And I can see that that is true because I can go up to my hamburger menu and now down into contacts. This is where I'm going to be able to see all the information about all of my contacts. And there is Betty. If I had added her phone number and I was on my phone, I'd be able to give her a call right from here. I can always send her an email, and I can always go in to her Collaboration Center. You're also able to search by your contacts because you may have more than I do, and you can use that little search option. That's also going to be really helpful when you're on a smaller screen like a phone. So I'm going to go into Betty's contact viewer by clicking on her name. And one of the first things I want to do is add her phone number. If I ever want to change her contact information, I can do that right from here. And I'm looking for that snowman menu. That's where my edit button is in the top right corner. I can click on that edit, and I can just scroll down, and I can go ahead and add that phone number. So it would be easy for me to give her a call. 603-228-9733. And if there was a second person that should also be getting these emails, maybe a spouse or a partner or, a best friend, whatever, we can go to more fields. And this is where we can add that second person's first and last name, email address, and then turn on notifications. But you don't even have to do this because you can tell Betty that once she gets that welcome email, she can forward that to anybody she wants to have access to their Collaboration Center. And if they've got that email, they've got that access. So save yourself the time and let your contact do that. I'm going to go ahead and hit save. And now we're going to see that that's been updated. I want to go into buyer activity ultimately. And that's where I'm going to be able to see that search that I've set up for Betty. I can also click on any of these numbers to be able to see, what's in her Collaboration Center, or go into her Collaboration Center to see that for myself. Before we do any of that, I actually want to go down to message history because I want to show you that automatic message email that goes out. You're going to be able to see that and any other messages that have gone out to your contact, whether they be a manual email that you've sent or an automatic email from the Collaboration Center. This is Betty's first email, and it's talking all about the Collaboration Center and the 11 properties that are there for her to see when she clicks on Get Started. Once she gets in there, we want to encourage her to mark favorites, possible, and rejected. The more your contact does in their Collaboration Center, the better you're able to help them find the property they're looking for. Another huge feature of the Collaboration Center, it's available as a downloaded app. And if Betty wants to just go into that app instead of relying on emails, she can download that either from the App Store or Play Store. She's got her case-sensitive invitation code, and that also means anybody she shares this email with can also download the app and always see what's happening in Betty's Collaboration Center via the app without having to have that email. This is really important because maybe you talk about the Collaboration Center and there's a little bit of pushback from your client because you say you're going to get these automatic emails and they go, oh my God, that's the last thing I need, more emails in my inbox. Well, you can say, well, it's fine. We'll send you that first welcome email so you have access to the Collaboration Center. But I can go in and I can reduce your emails to almost nothing. As a matter of fact, I can just give you an email once a month just to remind you that you have access to the Collaboration Center. And if I know that you're going to just be using the app, we'll really eliminate those email notifications for you. That might make the difference of your client saying, well, absolutely sign me up for the Collaboration Center. I'm going to show you how you can limit those emails next. As you scroll down, all your contact information is always going to be at the bottom. And if you want to change any of that, remember you can do that behind the hamburger menu all the way down in settings. So you can update your photo and any of your contact information there. I'm going to use my back arrow, couple of clicks, and we're right back to our contact viewer. And now we're going to go into buyer activity. And now this is that search that I set up for my client. I can see those 11 properties. Once again, I can click on either of those numbers to get details. And of course, I've got my all-important snowman menu. So when I click here, if I wanted to stop emails from going out, because my client has found what they're looking for, they don't need to get any more emails. I can disable those notifications for each and every search that I have set up for that client. Or I could just delete the search. If there's no search, there's no email going out about it. That is a much better option than completely deleting your client. If you delete the contact, you lose all that valuable information that you've collected about them. And even though they may not want to get notifications anymore, they may still want to have access to the Collab Center. They may want to keep that app on their phone so they can go in and spy on their neighbors, see what's happening around town. And remember, that's always going to have your name attached to it. So that helps keep top of mind awareness. So once they're ready to sell that property, they will come back and you can be their listing agent. So if you want to change why an email goes out, that can happen under notification change types. This is something you set behind your hamburger menu down in settings with client notifications. And generally, people want to get all those emails unless they don't. And if they want to get as few emails as possible, you can just select one of these options because you have to have at least one selected. So maybe we would just leave open house and we'll unselect everything else, hit save. Remember, I'm doing this for this specific contact for this specific save search. Not only am I going to reduce why emails go out, but the main thing is how often they go out. So notification timeframes, I don't want it to be immediately or every 15 minutes. I want to click on that little arrow and I want to make this recurring. And I want to take it not even to once a day or even just on weekends or every other day. My client said they want as few emails as possible. So we're going to send them one a month about open houses. That's it. I know that they're going to be using their Collab Center download app on their phone. So we don't have to worry about clogging up their inbox with a lot of information when they're just going to get that from the app. So I can go ahead and make that monthly. Go ahead and hit reply. I also see that I have my agent notifications turned on. But once again, in the hamburger menu down in settings, the only thing I have on for agent notifications from me is if they send me a comment. Other than that, I've got all the other options toggled off because I don't want to be getting those emails about every contact and every saved search. So that is how you limit those things. For your buyers, you're going to do it here so that you can change that time frame for your notifications. That's down in settings under agent notifications. So I'm going to go ahead and hit save here. And we can see now that is updated. If I wanted to add a second or third search for Betty Buyer, I can do that right here with that plus. So that's going to take me right back into my search template so I could add another saved search. If I want to go in and see what she sees in her collaboration center, anytime I see that little globish icon, that's going to give me that access. So we'll click here, start in the top right corner. That's where your contact will have access to all of your contact information, comments going back and forth. They'll be able to see that here. They also have a hamburger menu on the top left corner. And if they want to see what's been happening in the area of the saved searches that you set up for them in terms of market activity and closed listings, they can go to that hamburger menu and they can go down to recent sales to see that information. Everything else is probably going to be here on their homepage. They're going to be able to use their update sections to see new matches, price changes as they happen, status changes, if any open houses have been added as well. As more properties come in, match listings will continue to grow and all the updates will show in the update section. From match listings, they're going to be able to get that whole list of properties that have been added to their collaboration center. They can go into full details by clicking on that photo. Just like you can share, if they want to share a listing out of the Collab Center, they can do that. They can mark properties a favorite, a possible, or reject it. They can also request showings and leave comments. Both of these will come directly to you, the agent who set them up with Collab Center access. So if they're requesting a showing, that showing request is coming to you, and then you're setting that up with the listing agent. And if they are leaving comments or making favorites or possible, you're probably wondering, how do you keep up with all of this? But think way back to the beginning of this webinar when we were doing that overview of your Paragon Connect homepage. You have that whole center section talking about your contacts. So let's go back there now. And this is one of the ways you can easily keep track of what your contacts are doing in their collaboration center right here on your Paragon Connect dashboard. This is showing buyer activity for the last 7 days. And if you open up the legend, that's going to help you know what all the color bubbles mean. Green is a favorite, blue is a possible, red is a rejected property. That purple color is for comments. And then that kind of bluish color, darker blue color, means they have set up and saved their own search. So you're able to see this overview easily on your Paragon Connect dashboard. And in addition to that, you're going to see over the last 30 days, how many times your contact has been in their collaboration center. You can see your full list of contacts by using the little arrow. And even if a contact isn't making favorites, possible, or rejected, you can at least still see they're going in their collaboration center. So this is a great way to see that information. You can also see comments by clicking on that comment color bubble or using your unread comment widget. So I've got a couple of comments here. I can always click on that comment. I can see Dave was wishing the lot was bigger. Well, welcome to New Hampshire, Dave. There are not usually very many large lots on waterfront properties, but I could always come in and review that information and, even see that, yeah, I agree. That's a pretty small lot, but, that is just the way it goes. No real reason for me to write back, but if I wanted to, I could respond right from here. And while I am limited to seeing what's happened in the last 7 days from here, if I wanted to go back and review all the information for a contact, I can just click right on their bubble with their initial or their name, and that takes me right into their contact viewer. Just like I have their full message history, I also have their full comment history. So I can always come back into here and review all the comments they sent me since they have been added to the Collaboration Center. Once again, this is just an overview of your contacts and the Collaboration Center. We do have a full 1-hour webinar on contacts in the Collaboration Center that's available on your Prime MLS help desk. under Paragon recorded webinars. It's called Set It and Forget It, Recipe for Collab Center Success. All right, let's move into our last section here, and we're going to be talking about listing, maintenance, and input. And let's jump on my phone real quick. I always like to pretend I am in line at Target or Market Basket because that's where I feel like I am always at. And maybe somebody notices I am a realtor and they say, oh, how's the market? And of course, we always say, well, the market is local, so it depends on, what you're looking for. Let me bring my phone up. Weird. Is it hidden behind here? Uh-oh, we have a little issue. Well, I have another option. So I can't show you my phone. Something's up with my Let's View, even though I tested it right before this webinar. Luckily, we'll make this bigger again, and I'll show you just a phone view. So once again, pretend I am just in line. They notice about, my little pen that I'm a realtor, and they ask about the market. Maybe they say, I've been thinking about selling my house, but I really don't, have any idea what it could go for. This is when you become the hero of the situation. You take out your phone, and I'll just show you what that looks like. Whoops. So weird. Did I lose that option too? Oh, let's stop casting there and see if that will make it better. I should be able to jump on a different view, but it looks like I've lost that too. Oh, technology. Let's try this once again. All right, we're not going to have time to do that. Let me just show you what I would do on my phone. I would pull out my phone and I would go right to my option for EasyCMA. EasyCMA is right on your hamburger menu. You can come down to EasyCMA and I could do a quick and easy CMA right when we're in line at Market Basket or Target. So I'm going to be adding that new EasyCMA. I will have already gone into my settings and set up some defaults for my EasyCMA. I'll show you where you can change those defaults within any EasyCMA you set up. So you can click on here, and we're just going to start with the street address because she's going to tell me where she lives. And Sally Seller is going to let me know she lives at 4 Elmwood Ave. And as soon as I see that in Manchester, I'm going to select that 4 Elmwood Ave. And there is Manchester. So I'm going to select this. And I'd be doing this all on my phone. Always good to practice on a larger screen. That way, when you're on a smaller screen, it's just more intuitive. So we'd be looking at my phone, and Sally Seller would say, oh, yeah, wow, that's right where my property is. And remember, I could even take my little Google guy out there and we could have a look at her property. And she's going to say, yep, that's definitely me. So I'm going to go, let me do this quick and easy CMA for you. I am going to confirm that that is the correct location. And now I'm going to let the system do all the work for me. Once I confirm this is the correct address, it's in Manchester. I'm going to scroll down just a little bit. I'm always going to say the property type because remember in residential, it can be condo, single family, or mobile. This is a single family. She's going to confirm there are 3 bedrooms, there are 2 bathrooms. Maybe she tells me there's a half bath. So I can easily just update that right from my phone. And we can see from the photo, there is a 1-car garage. So we're going to put that in. Everything else is good. So we're going to click next. And this is where EasyCMA shines because it is pulling in 10 properties. I can see on the map how close they are to our subject property. And I can scroll down. I have said in my settings, I want to see off-market property closures. So these are properties that have transferred outside of the MLS. If this isn't a good comp, maybe she says, oh, I know that place was a fit, we can always remove it. And that way now we have 9 comps. We can make adjustments and notes, but we're just doing this while we're in line. We're just trying to get an idea of what Sally Seller could possibly list that property for. And of course, I'm going to tell her the best way to really know is have me come out and do that CMA for you. But, once I have an overview of the property, but we're going to do this EasyCMA for her. We're going to generate it. This is the information I've set as my default, but I could always come in and edit it. We're going to let her know, according to the system and based on those 9 comps, it looks like she could get around, 434,000. But once again, I would want to come out, really assess the property so we can set on a number that would be realistic. She'll be able to see all the information, the map for comp properties, and also the information on those comps we have. And of course, I can share this with her. All I would need to do is get that email address and I can easily share this with her. We did this in just a couple of minutes. So easily doable when you're in line at Target or Market Basket where those lines are kind of long. Now, Sally Seller is going to be so impressed that I was able to do this for her so quickly while we're in line. She's going to say, yes, please come out to my house and let's really, see if that's how much I could get for it. So we're going to set up an appointment. I'm going to go home, put my groceries away or put my Target haul away, and then I'm going to head out to Sally's property. But before I do that, I might want to go ahead and start that listing input process. And I'm going to do that right from my dashboard. And I'm going to take advantage of CRS tax autofill, and I can do that right under quick actions, create a listing. So I'm going to click on create a listing. I'm going to select CRS tax autofill. And that's because I want to have some of that public record information that CRS has collected. I want it to automatically populate in that listing I'm creating. Not only does that help me fill some of those required fields, but it also syncs my listing so that people can get that little icon that we saw in CRS that gives that Paragon information. It helps keep that simpatico relationship between the two systems there. So double benefit for taking advantage of tax autofill. When I click on that, I'm always going to start with the state. So we're going to put in New Hampshire, and it's very county specific. So the property I'm looking for is in Hillsborough County. I typically like to find the property by address, but you can also find the property by owner's name. And if you're using owner's name, you can narrow it down by city. I'm going to use street name, ALM Wood, and I'm going to narrow it down with street number. The maximum results you would ever see is 30. I don't want to have to look through 30 options, so that's why I narrow it down with street number. I'm going to click search. And in Hillsborough County, there are 2 different properties that have 4 Elmwood in their address. I'm not looking for the one in Amherst. I am looking for the one in Manchester. So I'm going to click autofill. It is indeed residential. I'm going to click create. And this is going to bring me right into my listing input fields here in Paragon Connect. I'm going to see that just by taking advantage of CRS tax autofill, I am going to already have 25% of my required fields already with criteria in them. But remember, you're not going to be that basic agent who doesn't fully promote all their properties, features, and benefits. You're going to look at all those fields where you could potentially add that information. And that makes it easier for your fellow agents when they're searching for specific features that their buyer is looking for. So I've started this process before I head out to Sally Sellers. And of course, I'm just going to come down and I'm going to save this as an unpublished listing. That's what I'm going to keep doing as I add more and more information to this listing input section. Now, when I get to Sally Sellers' property at 4 Elmwood Ave in Manchester, I'm going to take out my cell and I am going to go to my Paragon Connect app And I'm going to ensure that I'm not one of those lazy listing agents, because instead of writing down on a piece of paper all those features that the property has, I'm going to go ahead and input them right from my phone. And that means I can collapse all these containers once I'm in the app on my phone, and I can go right down to features. I can be standing in the kitchen, open up appliances, and start putting in all those appliances that the property has. I used to forever get back to the office and think, oh, was that a gas stove or was that an electric stove? No more. You can just use Paragon Connect for listing input right on your phone. And you could say, this is a gas stove and range. And as a matter of fact, there's a gas dryer too. And if there's a natural gas water heater, I'm putting all that information in. There is also a dishwasher. So I'm going to put that in, and it's Energy Star approved. So we're going to add that. And I would just keep adding all of those features, flooring, interior and exterior features. And once again, now I'm fully promoting that listing, and I'm collecting that information while I'm at the property, putting it into my listing input form and saving me tons of work. So just like I can do this on the larger screen on my laptop, I can do all of this on my smaller screen via the app on my phone, saving me a lot of time and effort, and also helping me make sure I get the information accurate. A couple of other things you can do, and of course, I'm just going to keep stating as an unpublished, as I'm going through. One of the benefits I love to show on the phone, and you're just going to have to take my word for it or download the app and play around with this yourself, is inputting photos. Because just like I can collect that information in my multi-select feature fields, well, we all know a photo is worth 1,000 words. If I go through and I just start taking some photos while I'm at the property, I can upload them right from my app into my listing. And all I have to do is use that little inlay. When I click on photos for plus, it's going to give me more options. Instead of just directing me to where I have photos saved on my computer, it's going to allow me to take a photo from my phone or to pull up the photos that I've taken from my phone. So once again, just another great way to add that information into the listing. Actually, I think I want to go under CMA because I've got some photos there, and I can just add a couple of things. There we go. And we will open, and you can see how those photos are added. Now, of course, when you're adding from your phone, it really, saves that time and effort. That means it doesn't have to be added to your computer and then from your computer added into the system. I guess I just clicked on one photo, and that's okay. But you could always use this just to put all the information about your property, come in and remove these photos, and then always add those professional photos or go back out and take more professional photos than you are just when you're at the listing trying to collect the information. So we'll go ahead and we will save this. So let's exit out of here. There we go. And then you're going to, of course, come back to your office or a larger screen, and you're just going to continue inputting information about the property. I always like to show you in the couple of top containers here, there are maybe some fields you don't know what they mean. Maybe you're not sure what a comp only listing is. Maybe under listing information, you don't know what marketed and other property means. That's that option to market a property in more than one class and type. And if you can take advantage of it, why wouldn't you? I always think of a detached condo. Of course, when you put that in, you're going to put it in as a condo, residential condo. But if you can also put it in as a residential single family, why wouldn't you take advantage of that? More exposure for you as the listing agent, more eyes on the property for your seller. So to get that information on fields, you may want to go to your Prime MLS help desk, click on rules and policy. And this is where you can come to those field definition, frequently asked questions. You can get the details on a comp only listing. That's a property that has closed outside the MLS. We let you add that into the MLS within 7 days of that closing. This is good for you because it gets you that credit for a property that was never in the MLS. Also great for your fellow agents so they can use that for comp purposes. If you want to market a property in more than one class, you've got those guidelines right here, and it's going to remind you that now you're creating 2 MLS numbers that you have to maintain exactly the same until the time of closing. When you only close out the most appropriate one, in our example, that would be the residential condo, you would send that residential single family MLS number to our rules team so that they would be able to delete that. That's going to help keep the system accurate and free of redundancies. And if you want to come in and get all the information on coming soon, you're going to have that access to the coming soon frequently asked questions document under related articles. You can click on that and get all of those questions answered. But remember, you can also reach out to staff via chat, via ticket, and also via phone. We're going to go back into our listing input section. And of course, you're going to go through all of this, putting in all your information. I always like to talk about your public remarks. So we are going to go ahead and let's just save this as an unpublished listing so we can get what's the issue. Let's see what it's saying our issue is. Units per building. Okay, so we would be able to say 1. So we'll put that in. And now we've taken care of that. We want to actually collapse all so I can see my remarks and disclosures, because I always like to remind you that in your public remarks, you're never going to include branded information. Public remarks is always about the property. If you have a coming soon listing and you want to say when that activation date is, when it's going to be active and showings can begin, you can put that in your public remarks. If you're selling a property for yourself or your mother-in-law, that means you have agent interest in the sale of the property. You are required to put that in your public remarks. You can also put open house information in your public remarks. What you cannot put in your public remarks is branded information. Branded information is information about you, the company you work for, emails, websites, phone numbers. Even if they don't go to your company, even if that website is for a homeowners association, no websites, phone numbers, or email addresses are allowed in your public remarks. But guess where you can put this information? In your syndication remarks. We even give you a 500 extra characters. So you're going to go ahead and create all those beautiful word pictures talking all about the features of your property, include open house and activation date, put in any agent interest in the property. All of that's going to be in your public remarks. Then you're going to copy and paste them into your syndication remarks. And that is where you can use that additional 500 characters to add branded information, your name, your company's name, any websites, emails, or phone numbers. Your public remarks are always going to show in Paragon. They're what go out on any of those reports that are emailed, text, or shared. They also go into the Collaboration Center. But your syndication remarks go to our public-facing website, and we request any of the sites that you're syndicating that listing to that they also use syndication remarks. So just another way for you to be able to promote yourself as the listing agent. You want to make sure that you're not only putting in all the information in all of the fields, but also make sure you're adding those photos. You can have up to 60 photos, and with every photo, you can have a label and description, just another way to be promoting the features of that property. So if we click on that photo or go behind the little snowman menu, this is where you're able to add those labels. You also have a very cool image editor here in Paragon Connect. It allows you to do things like crop or rotate photos. But look at all these additional options. You can draw on the photo. You can add shapes and icons to point out different things. If you have virtually staged a listing, you have to make that note on the photo. You can use that text option to put that information right there that it's a staged photo. And now you've satisfied that requirement. And then you have some additional filter options. If you need to make it brighter, you want to change grayscale or sepia, all these options are available for you in Paragon Connect under Image Editor. We're going to exit out of here. One more thing to point out, a lot of times after a property closes, the buyers reach out to their buyer agent and then they have to reach out to the listing agent and they want all the photos removed. You no longer have to remove photos. You can mark them private. That's going to keep them here in the MLS, which is a benefit because as this becomes a comp property, people want to be able to see those photos, but it keeps them here in the system. Keep in mind those photos have already gone out to syndication site, IDX feeds. So there's really no way to put that cat back in the bag. But instead of removing photos and just leaving one, now you can at least mark them private so that they stay available for prime MLS customers to be able to use in the future for comp purposes. We're going to exit out of photos. Remember, you can add your floor plans in that specific area in your top right corner so that they're easily displayed here in Paragon Connect. You can also add your documents, and when you're adding documents, make sure you are selecting that they are shareable with public. I know we're right at time, but if you can give me a few more minutes, I just want to show you, once you make this property live, because you've gone through all your required fields, and instead of hitting save on publish, you publish it. Now, keep in mind, I'm going to get a lot of errors because I didn't go through every field. So the system is going to help me take care of those 55 errors, starting with making sure I validate the location and going through all those other fields that I missed that are required. When I get down to that 55th one and I save it as a published listing, then I'm going to get that pop up as an MLS number, and that's how I know it's active. When you want to maintain your active inventory, we're going to jump into a different Paragon view so that I have some pretend listings. You're going to want to get familiar with your inventory section. This is where you can easily go and edit any of your active listings. So when you click in that active bubble, it's going to take you right to your published listings. You're going to be able to see both of those listings as soon as they populate here. And then you can click on edit and go into any of those fields you might need to edit. Let me just see if I can refresh here. So that might be why we are taking a little bit of time. And we'll just reopen Paragon Connect quickly here. Oh, it's really going to be a pain. There we go. And I can open from here. Hopefully it's going to be a little bit faster. Perfect. So now I'm seeing my published listing. I can go right into edit, and that brings me into full edit so I can make any changes. But I've got some additional options here. I can also get insights on how the property is doing. I can additionally set my seller up for access to the Collaboration Center. I can see that one seller is set up, one isn't. So we're going to do that very quickly. And also you can go behind the more. And if you just need to make some specific change, like update an expiration date, this also is going to help you do that even faster. So you've got a lot of great information here between your edit, insights, and snowman menu. Plus, you want to give your sellers access to the Collaboration Center. This gives them access on demand to how their listing is doing. So we're going to set up Sally's seller for that access. Once again, nothing I need to do here. Sally's going to download the app. So I'm simply going to hit save here. Now I can see she's getting that information. And if I go to my hamburger menu and I go down to contacts, I can see exactly what Sally sees. So when I click on that little globe icon, If she is also buying through me, she's going to be able to see all those potential next home sweet homes under search activity. All the information about the property I'm selling for her is under my property. So she's going to get some general information. She's going to see how the property is doing with agent views in Paragon, potential buyers in the Collaboration Center over 14, 7, 14, 30, and 90 days. But beyond this 90 days, she's going to be able to see for the life of the listing how her property is doing with agent views in Paragon, potential buyer views in the Collaboration Center. She's also going to see if anybody has made her property a favorite, possible, or rejected, or if it's just in the Collaboration Center undecided. Have any agents used that agent recommended feature to manually add her property into one of their contacts Collaboration Center? She'll see how many times that has happened. Are agents talking back and forth with their contacts about this specific address? Do any agents in Paragon have this property in a saved search? Do any potential buyers in the Collaboration Center have this property in a saved search? Some general social media activity, and she'll also be able to keep an eye on her competition. This is similar properties to hers in a 10-mile radius. So do not sleep on giving your contacts access to the Collaboration Center as well. You want to make sure you give your sellers that access because it gives them access to that listing analytics that they are looking for. And once again, just helps you look like the rock star agent that you are. Take advantage of all these features in Paragon Connect and get to that rock star agent status easier and faster with Paragon Connect. Thank you so much for giving me a little bit of extra time this afternoon. I'm happy to stick around if you have any questions. Otherwise, have a great rest of your day, and we look forward to seeing you in future training events.